And Madam Mayor, we are now streaming live and it is 4 o'clock, so we're ready to go at your leisure.
Okay. We'll just wait a few seconds to see if Cindy gets on. Okay. We'll just keep an eye out for when she comes on. Maybe Cindy, if you can let me know when she is active in case I have a motion with her name on it.
Yes, I will.
Okay,
do
I'm
that.
going to call the meeting to order. It's 4:01. And our first motion is a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Victor Hayes that the agenda for the regular council meeting for January the 11th, 2022 be approved as presented. Are there any amendments, Kathy?
No, there's none.
Okay, so approved as presented. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure, pecuniary interest and general nature thereof of any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? Okay, seeing none, we'll put that in the minutes. And I have a motion moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Philip Smith, that the minutes of the regular council meeting held December the 14th, 2021, and the special council meeting held December the 21st, 2021, be approved as presented. Any comments or questions on those minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor? Carried. Okay. Mayor's remarks, just a few remarks. And yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but Cindy Kelsey is now connecting.
Okay. Okay, there's Cindy. All right. Mayor's remarks. The first remarks is I want to again thank all of the staff of the municipality, the roads department, the fire department, administration, everyone who has been involved with immunization clinics. We just finished our booster shots, and over the 2 days, we ended up giving boosters, 3 days actually, over 1,500 people. We had people, we opened it up and we had people who came from Perth, Ottawa, Smith Falls, people who had to wait until the end of March to get boosters arrived at our clinic. So we couldn't have done it without the municipality and the family health team and Doctors Bell and Koenig working together. Just fantastic. In all, we've had 10 clinics to support the people of this community. So hurrah to everybody, and thank you all so very much for all your help. Now, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our new fire chief, Chris Mcdonough, who's with us. And Chris, stick up your hand there. Chris is joining us. Chris comes with us with 30 years of experience, and he and Jamie have been out on the town, going around to visit different stations, and Chris actually started with us yesterday. So welcome, Chris. We look forward to a long and fruitful employment with the municipality. Mm-hmm. Chris has some family and knows the area. So Chris, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. First off, I'd like to thank council and the HR panel for selecting me for your chief. Pretty excited to be working alongside the firefighters in Central Frontenac, and Jamie's been a great asset for me to get familiarized with everything. So I'm very pleased, and the administrative staff have been outstanding to sort of get me oriented on what to expect. So it's been really great. So I'm looking forward to it very much.
Great. Okay, thank you and welcome. All right, I don't have anything else. Deputy Mayor Sherry Wan, do you have anything to add?
I would just like to add one thing, and that is a big thank you and a big shout out to Public Works. While we were all enjoying our Christmas Day, I know they were out working hard on the roads, and it's really really appreciated.
Yes, thank you. Yes. They very often end up opening presents and running out the door if they even get to open their presents. So yes,
Yeah.
kudos to them and their families.
Was not a nice
Right.
day.
That's right. Any deferred items?
Yes,
Oh,
there
there
is.
is,
Madam
sorry.
Mayor. There is a resolution.
And this is comments on downtown revitalization. I mentioned to Kathy, I didn't give any comments. Did anyone else? No? Nikki, you
Nikki.
did? Okay, Nikki's the only one that did her homework, I think. So I'm suggesting that we get our comments in by maybe the end of next week so that Adriana will have them prior to the 24th, 25th. Will that work, Adriana?
Afternoon, everyone. I hope I'm connecting okay. Thank you,
Yes.
Nikki. I did get your feedback. I was wondering if I would hear from anyone else or if you needed some more time, which is completely understandable. I would love to push for Monday to have feedback, but if that means, you know, later in the week, throughout next week, I can handle that. It just be really helpful because we take this feedback back to the management group to discuss, and I'm going to be kickstarting some consultation with different community stakeholder groups. So it just helps if we can all kind of keep moving forward at the same pace. So yeah, if the mayor says the end of next week, I suppose.
I love it when I can pull rank. let's aim for Wednesday as a cutoff. That gives us the weekend to put our heads together and start crafting our comments to get them in by Wednesday. How's that for a compromise? Bill?
Yes.
Madam Mayor.
To Adrian, in that I read through that plan and all the rest of it, and I don't feel like I've got any experience or expertise in which I can offer in a way to build a better community. But I'm wondering if there's an area that you're actually searching for some extra support that we might as a council be able to add to your plan.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think it's a question of, you know, at what point in time as we continue the next few months, do we bring things up as those projects are, you know, starting to take shape, or when a grant maybe comes along where we would want to, of course, have council's approval to go after a certain grant to help fund certain activities. But what I can do is, if it would help, is I can provide kind of a bit of a chart view of any of the activities in particular that really are going to be quite reliant on township approval or township budgeting to make them a reality. So if I can help kind of steer your focus in the right direction, I'm happy to do that.
I think that would be helpful. Brent, go ahead.
Madam Mayor, I won't be offering any input because poor Adriana's had to put up with a year of my inputs on this. So I do want to say on behalf of the management team for DTR that any comments and any perspectives that anybody here is willing to put forward are greatly and very sincerely appreciated and will be accepted. We want this to work, and we want it to be reflective of the will of this township and this community. So please, you know, our work is still continuing, and we are going to thrive on your inputs and your advice.
Excellent. Everyone has a copy of the report or knows how to get a copy of the report? Okay. All right. I have a motion moved by Bill McDonald and seconded by Cindy Kelsey that council directs staff to consider and incorporate any comments submitted into the draft strategic action plan. And I won't add to the motion, but we're going to say by next Wednesday at the latest.
Madam
Okay,
Mayor,
although, yes,
sorry, we've lost Cindy Kelsey, so I think to be safe, we should maybe have somebody else second that.
okay, I'll put Nikki in there. Okay, so moved by Bill and seconded by Nikki Gowdy. All those in favor of the motion? Carried. Cindy's connection mustn't be very good tonight. All right, staff reports. Our first one is the construction details report. And I have a motion moved by Sherry Wine, seconded by Tom Dewey, that council received the construction details report, December 2021, as prepared by the Manager of Development Services, CBO, for information. Any questions or comments? Andy is here if we have some. Bill.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say that this is a fantastic year, and I did a little addition there, and perhaps somebody else has also, but to bring to the attention, you think of the amount of progress that's actually happened in our township in the last 3 years. If you add those numbers, it shows that we've had 61 new homes built in Central Frontenac in the last 3 years, and 43 new cottages, which I would categorize most of those cottages of like homes. So the progress, if you add the two of them together, you're looking at over 100 new living quarters being built. And I think that's fantastic. And I think Andy's doing a wonderful job. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Brent, go ahead. Go ahead, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is great with the stats, and I know this was something that happened last year. And again, I am very reluctant to ask because I know exactly how busy you are, Andy. But I'm wondering at some point, and again, not an urgency, if there was some breakdown by district that we could get. And again, I would not spend a lot of time obsessing over this. I think it would be helpful for us to get a sense of where the growth is. But certainly you have enough on your plate that I wouldn't divert away from what you're already doing. But if there's a chance, I think that would be very instructive for us.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cameron. Yeah, that's not a problem. I'll have it for you for next meeting. It doesn't take too long to sort it out by district.
And certainly, if you look at the Committee of Adjustment and the number of new severances in the different regions as well, that would also give us a number that might be of interest, the number of severances in each district. I would guess that Hinchinbrook is one of the higher of those 4 districts. But Andy can get that for us maybe in his spare time over the January, February, March.
Will do.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you, Andy. Okay, Public Works. Motion moved by Victor Hayes, seconded by Philip Smith, that council receive the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated January the 11th, 2022 for information. Any questions or comments for Tyson? Okay. Good report, Tyson. Nobody's got questions. Do you have something, Tyson? Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for giving me the opportunity to say something. I just wanted to also thank my staff for working through the Christmas holidays. Some people may not understand whether we get a foot of snow or a centimeter of snow overnight. It's the same route they have to drive and stay in, and it's the same amount of time it takes generally. And also, you'll notice a lot of info down in the waste section. So some more info in the waste section. I wanted to thank the Waste and Recycling Committee for all their hard work that they've been doing in the last few meetings. We've been really putting our heads together, and we're going to see some positive changes coming down the pipes for the waste and recycling section. So, thank you.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, all those in favor of the motion? Carried. Next, we have a motion moved by Tom Dewey, seconded by Victor Hayes. Whereas the hours of operation for both the Wimp Dump and Road 38 waste sites Wimp Road and Road 38 waste sites was brought forth to the Waste and Recycling Committee at their December 2021 meeting. And whereas the committee considered the benefits of new hours for both sites while remaining open the same amount of time. And whereas it's proposed that the Wimp Road site be open on Saturday instead of Sunday, while Road 38 site will be open on Saturday instead of Sunday. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of the Public Works Manager to change the hours of operation for the Wimp Road and Road 38 waste sites as presented. And further, that the new hours of operations will be posted at both sites on the website, social media, and in the Frontenac News. Discussion. Nikki, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would like, first of all, like to request a recorded vote on this issue. Second, I was wondering why we aren't receiving the minutes from the Waste Management Committee, which would give us background into some of these suggestions that we have in front of us or going forward. I'd like to know what public input was made over this decision. I also would like to suggest, instead of changing any of the days, that instead it's about cost savings. Why don't we close the dump 15 minutes early and open it 15 minutes later, which would still give time for the attendant to do their business at the township office and have a lunch, and it wouldn't affect the residents. The Monday to Friday work week isn't really what the majority aren't work weeks anymore, of Monday to Friday, and having a variety of times for residents to come is more prevalent for them. I put this on my social media site and I had almost 70 comments, and of those 70 comments, only 2 people were in favor of changing the days at the dump. A lot of people would like curbside pickup. Is there a way we can have a study or something come forward with a cost analysis of curbside pickup? Just lots of ideas, but and I appreciate the work that the Waste Management Committee is doing, but I just think this is really jumping the gun on these 2 sites.
Who would like to respond to that? Tom, you're on the committee. Victor, you're on the committee.
Well, I'll start out. The problem is with the 2 dump sites, the attendant at the site is half day. So he has to close down after his hours are finished at the one site. He then has to travel to the other site in the same day. By changing the hours, having him there the full day, this will cut down on the travel time from one site to the other. So, and it also, I think he gets an extra half hour. Correct me. I think that's what we said, half hour. Well, that half hour will go away when we go back to the one day on each site. So it's a win. It makes sense to have it open one day, full day for each site.
Okay. Tyson, do you have any response? Brent does?
Yeah, go ahead with Brent first if you'd like to. I've got a response.
Okay, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been looking at this, and well, I'll cut to the chase. I share a lot of Nikki's views on this. Just to give a perspective, if you look at the positioning of all of our waste sites, the one that we have the one off in Olden, we have Wemp Road, and we have Hinchinbrook. But if you look at the way in which our township is configured, we have a very large portion of the population who is in proximity to the site at Hinchinbrook, and it's a very long distance for everybody. I'm going to give you a perspective. If you live on Oak Flats Road, you're not even as far off as Second Lake Road, and I did a measurement on this. To get to Hinchinbrook, it's 18 minutes drive or 20 kilometers. To get to Wemp Road, you're looking at about a doubling of that. And if to get to the Olden site, it's 45 kilometers or 40 minutes. What we're essentially saying is that if you are in that part of Hinchinbrook district, that part of the township, you need to do your dump on Saturday. You may, yes, we're doing this on Tuesday, but a lot of people work Monday to Friday. So Tuesday is off the table. You have to get it done on Saturday, or you're going to have to drive the equivalent of heading from your house to the Cataraqui Town Center in Kingston to get to Wemp Road, because the distance in kilometers and mileage is about the same. I think it would be actually better if we adjusted the hours where, say, instead of closing at 12 noon in the morning, we closed at 11:30. And instead of reopening at 1 p.m., we reopened at 1:30. Now, on paper, this does represent a loss of 1 hour per day of service. But if we are asking people to essentially plan their entire Saturday or their entire Sunday around a dump run, I think that the matter of a half hour per site per day isn't really going to matter as much. And it also gives staff the time that they need to get things done. So I would much prefer that we do an adjustment in terms of when we close in the morning and when we close in the afternoon, rather than simply say that Hinchinbrook, a site that is in most proximity to a large portion of our population, you've got 1 day to do it. And if you don't get it that day, you're out of luck. So I'd like that to be considered.
Okay, good points. Was that talked about at the committee, about just changing the hours and leaving the days as they were?
Through you, Madam Mayor, it was not talked about at the committee meeting. It helps the municipality out logistically to not have the split half shifts. It's the feedback from the public that I receive is typically that it's confusing, and that reducing the hours even more and interrupting those hours even more seems to be even more of an inconvenience. To have a full day, to have more full days throughout the week where it's open all day, it seems to be more of a beneficial situation. It benefits the township to have more full days where it's closed, so we can haul bins as numbers and quantities go up. We get a full day of being able to haul those bins away to Kingston area recycling. I as a committee member also still stand by our decision. Obviously open to suggestions and open to looking into it further and open to gathering public feedback, but we stand by our decision.
Okay, Victor?
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you. I also think that this is a good solution for the staff person as well. Something that hasn't been in this is that the shed is heated by a fire. So the way it is now in wintertime, he's got to go in and he's got an hour before his shed is warm. And then has to shut that fire down, go to the next one. And now he's in a cold shed again. So that's another consideration, just keeping our staff safe and comfortable. Another consideration is when you are working a half day, there are things that are going to be happening in the morning that you're not going to be able to take care of in the full morning. We talk with the attendants about their on-site experience, and it's they especially at well, this is especially at Olden, but there are so many things that have to be shifted around. And if you think of the recycling bins, people aren't doing their recycling properly, so they're in the bins pulling stuff out, and you're not going to always be able to get that all done in the morning before you have to move to the next one. So now you've left a contaminated bin. So as a committee member, I stand by this. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, the question is, when is this to start? And would there be a 3-month or a 6-month review? Or could there be?
The committee discussed rolling this out in March. The committee is also open to proposed dates It was mentioned in the meeting whether we should make the change right away. And we decided, no, we want to get some signage up at the gates and give the public lots of time to adjust. And definitely we want to make the changeover before the busy season, before the cottagers come back. That's what we do know.
Okay. Bill, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking at this chart. Maybe committee members could respond to it. It looks like the Wimp Road, as it is today, has 2.5 days open per week. And the Road 38 has 2.5 days. With your new proposal, it looks like the Wimp Road is going to 3 full days, and Road 38 is going to 2 days. So they're losing a half a day. I'm wondering if it would suffice to keep the same plan, but just reverse those times where the Wimp Road would have the 3 days and the Road 38 would, or the Wimp Road would go down to 2 days. Now that would be based all upon the number of people who actually use the sites. I don't have that information, but I'm just wondering, is that what the plan was to the Wimp Road to go to 3 days and the Road 38 to go to 2 days? Or is that just the way it worked out?
Hours that the sites are open haven't changed. I might have to take a closer look, but I think currently we're open 2.5 days at one site and 2.5 at the other. The way that if you're going to full days, we have to pick the busier site and put the schedule to 3 days at the busier site and 2 days at the site that's not as busy.
It's what we could do is if we vote on this thing, if it's agreed that we do this, we could monitor the volume over the next few months or after it becomes into effect. And if we have to change the number of days at one site versus the other, we can take a look at that. But I think we should go with what's been proposed here in the report, and we'll take a look at it down the road. But it makes sense to make this change.
Okay, Brent.
With regard to the volume and the busyness of particular locations, I'm somebody who alternately uses Hinchinbrook and Wemp Road. Hinchinbrook's obviously more convenient for me. I'll use Wemp Road if, quite frankly, the time for Hinchinbrook doesn't work for me. Like many people in this township, I work Monday to Friday. I have those commitments. Saturday gets caught up with a lot of things, as does Sunday. And so you have to pick or choose. And one of the nice things about having the schedule as it is, it does give you an opportunity where you don't simply have to say, well, the only way I'm going to get to the dump and a location which is closer to me than going to Kingston is to put all of my weekend activities into one particular day. I'm less affected being on 38, but let's think about it. Again, people that live out toward Oak Flats Road, down toward Second Lake, once you get out toward Echo Lake and even Wilkinson, we're talking about people where you are literally adding 1 hour of travel time. And if you're close to another location, that's great, but we are impacting those areas. Those are areas where, incidentally, and we talked about this with the building construction reports, this is where the population is growing. We're getting more and more people. So when we talk about the volumes going in, is Wemp busier because people who would normally go to Hinchinbrook can't go to Hinchinbrook because the gate's closed? I mean, it's very hard to determine. I would also, if we're going to look at those volumes, that's great, but I would also like to take into account where human beings are in this township. Where are the residences? Where's the population centered? Because I think it's important that if we're going to actually serve the public, we need to be in an area where we're convenient to the public. I understand the issue with staff. And again, I would suggest that if we adjust the hours, We provide an opportunity for staff to be able to get their job done and not under, I think, awkward situations where they just simply don't have enough time to do an adequate job and get from point A to point B. There's got to be an accommodation. So adjusting the hours, in my opinion, would work better than just simply saying, this is your day, take it or leave it.
Okay, Nikki?
Was roadside dumping taken in account? Did anybody think about that? Because one of the residents reached out to me from White Lake Road, and she said that she's picking up a lot of roadside garbage and a lot of dumping at the old dump site there on White Lake Road. And if you, as Brent said, the population's in this very high in the south. If you take away days that to accommodate them to get to put their garbage and refuge into a waste management site, is roadside dumping something that we need to start looking at that will be probably taking place again? Do we have money in the budget for Public Works to be taking their time to go and pick up garbage on the side of the road that's been dumped in a ditch?
Tyson?
I can speak to Nikki's comments through you, Madam Mayor. I can speak to Nikki's comment about the roadside garbage. I can count a handful of times, maybe the road super would disagree, but I can only count a handful of times where we've had to send crews out to do that. When you think of the other alternative to, we want to make this, if that's the issue and we're not making our sites accessible enough because of the hours, we need to think about another $60,000 salary and run both sites full time. Because I think that's the only alternative. I think it would come down to probably less than a few $1,000s to send crews out to get a 1-ton load every now and then upon request, or if they notice a little bit of garbage piling up. The alternative being a $60,000 salary to run Wemp Road at the same time is also. And as for Brent's comment, our studies in the downtown revitalization and all population studies at the core of our communities in Oso, Charlotte Lake. And that was what our decision for the 3 days there versus 2 days in the south. And I just wanted to make one more comment to the to an alternative. Someone questioned what is the compromise or the alternative. There is also local companies that will come and you can pay them to do curbside pickup and we've got good relationships with that at our sites. They can bring that waste to our sites. That's the alternative option down in the bottom corner of the township in the Wilkinson area for the people who are having trouble getting there on Saturday mornings or whatever. I would say that that's a really great alternative that our community provides as well.
Okay. Nikki, one more comment and then we're going to call the question. Go ahead.
Yes, and just a rebuttal to Tyson. Thank you for your comments, and that having a company in the community that does do curbside pickup is great. But on the other hand, the taxpayer is paying taxes for this service, so they be penal because they can't make it to the dump. They have to add another additional expense to their budget for the month.
Okay, now. The motion as it stands does not talk anything about a review in 6 months, but what I hear the committee saying is that they will review this in 6 months. Is that the case? The two council members and Tyson? This will be reviewed. If it passes tonight and goes into place in March, it would be reviewed in 6 months?
Yeah. That I would agree with
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sherry?
I'd be comfortable with the review.
Okay, can I just add that as a friendly amendment to be reviewed in 6 months? Sherry, you have your hand up?
Sorry, yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Since the program wouldn't be looking at starting until March, would it be possible to get some public input? Would it give time to maybe do a survey or get some input from the public with their comments or suggestions prior to starting?
I'm sure over the next 6 months, we're going to hear some comments.
Well, I believe after this discussion, there will be a bit of an article that Craig might write in the news about this discussion and about the vote that we're about to take. So it will give people time to send their comments either to councillors, who then should forward them to the waste committee, or we could even put a spot on the website for people to make comments. All right, so I am going to ask for a recorded vote, or it's been asked for a recorded vote. So I'm going to call the question. Yay or nay to the motion, and the only amendment to the motion was that this action be reviewed in 6 months. Does anyone want me to reread it?
No.
We're good with it? Okay. All right, we're going to start with Philip Smith. Yes or no?
You're muted, Phil.
Muted.
No.
Okay. Sherry,
No.
Nikki,
No.
Victor,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Brent,
No.
Bill,
Yes.
Cindy,
No.
and me, yes. It is defeated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 noes and 3 yeses. So the motion has been defeated. So I would say that the
Madam
committee
Mayor?
will,
Yes, Madam Mayor, there was
Pardon?
4 yeses and 5 noes.
sorry, yes, I forgot to count myself. Okay, but it was defeated. So I would say that the committee then will go back and have another meeting and see what they can come up with. And maybe Nikki, if you could let them know the site that you're talking about so they can read those comments, they can take those into account.
I'll just copy them and I can email them all to them.
Sure, that would be great. Okay. And could someone set up a spot on the website to receive further comments? Kathy, can you arrange that?
Done, Madam Mayor.
I can,
Okay,
you can have Mel probably do that, and I can also put something on the website and maybe another advertisement looking for hardworking people like Victor and Tom and Ken to join the committee and help with some of this background work.
okay, sure. Excellent. Okay, good discussion. All right, I have a motion moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Bill McDonald. Whereas the Community Policing Advisory Committee met on December the 21st, 2021, and expressed concerns regarding the various speed limits through the village of Parham. And whereas the Public Works Manager has reviewed the speed limits historical data and consulted with staff as well as the Central Frontenac Community Policing Advisory Committee and gathered background information and estimated costs for council to consider. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council receive the speed zone change through the village of Parham report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated January the 11th, 2022. And further, that council approve the Public Works Manager's recommendation to change the posted speed limits as outlined in this report. And that a bylaw be considered for adoption later in the meeting to incorporate this change by amending bylaw 2020-43. Discussion, questions, or comments? Seeing none. All those, oh, Cindy, go ahead.
I would just like to thank Tyson to looking into this for me. Thank you, Tyson.
Okay. All right. All those in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Right. Next, we have a motion moved by Victor Hayes and seconded by Bill McDonald. Whereas the status of this section of Bernie Point Road south of Ivy Lane is undetermined as to whether it is a forced trespass road or a private right-of-way. And whereas the property owners who use this road to access their waterfront properties have requested that the township continue its maintenance of this section of road, which since 2016 was expanded to include winter plowing. And whereas the property owners in Lot 14 are willing to deed sufficient lands to the township such that it can acquire the legal title to the road in order to comply with the official plan transportation policies for a nominal sum/donation basis, provided the township cover legal and surveying costs to affect the transfer of land. Now therefore be it resolved that council directs staff to engage legal counsel and an Ontario land surveyor and work with the parties to prepare necessary transfer documents. And further, that staff bring back a bylaw for the dedication and assumption of the said lands as a year-round municipal highway without the need to complete the cost-benefit analysis due to the unique circumstances and history of this section of road. And further, that sufficient funds be allocated to the 2022 budget to cover the anticipated costs to complete the transfer and undertake any road improvements required as a result of the assumption of the road. Discussion. Bill and then Philip.
Yes, to you, Madam Mayor, I'm going to support this action. We took a time, several of us took time to actually go and meet on this road to actually look at it. And we have had a history of actually maintaining this road for quite a considerable amount of time. And it only came to light because we were making some changes on some of the so-called private roads that we stopped maintaining this road, when in actual fact we've had a history of maintaining this road for a good many years. And so with having met on the township, with the folks on this township, and the amount of building activity that's actually happening in this area, there's a tremendous tax base on there. And I think some of the building that went on there was a result of the fact that the people were informed and assured that this, in actual fact, was a township road, and it was only on those bases that they went ahead with their development. And I think it's important that we show a certain amount of good faith, because we were doing this, and the road needs to be brought up to a certain condition so that we continue to look after it. But I will be supporting the motion as we go forward. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Philip, you had your hand up.
I had I guess a question. If this was a new development, we'd be asking the developer to pay the associated fees to bring the road up to a municipal standard for assumption. Why is the municipality agreeing to assume a $30,000 expense?
Okay, Kathy, do you want to take that one? Or Tom?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. That's one thing that I got a question. Like, we're already using the road, we're already maintaining the road. So why are we going to spend $29,000? I can see minimum maintenance on it as we go forward, because we're already doing it. But why spend $29,000? I don't quite agree with that. We're already doing the work. So, I mean, I would support going ahead with making this a public road, but I'm not in favor of spending 29 grand.
Okay, Tyson, do you want to answer that? And then Victor?
Madam Mayor, I believe the reason we would want to do that is because we are asking developers to bring sections of road like that up to municipal standards before we take it over, before it turns over to municipal maintenance, municipally maintained. So I think it would set a bad example if we didn't bring it up to municipal standards. I agree. It would be a lot easier to just throw some gravel down, like I've shown in my quote. This quote here is just to that's just to be able to continue plowing it with ease. To bring it up to municipal standards, we're looking at a huge project, a lot more money than $30,000.
And I don't think anybody's expecting it to be up to municipal standards. They simply want us to maintain what's there.
Yeah, exactly.
So as you say, a bit of gravel to make it easier to look after. Victor, you had a comment?
Yes, one of the reasons, so first of all, there's a difference between this and a new development. The new development, somebody has gone in and decided to take private land and build a whole bunch of new stuff, and they want us to maintain the roads. Well, this is a situation where this is already existing. There's a history of us maintaining it, but my understanding, this was initiated because when we were doing land title searches, we found out that the township did not actually own the land that we were maintaining, and that puts us in a very sticky legal situation. So I think some of the costs involved there are related to cleaning up the legal title on this, which this needs to be clear, and it isn't clear at the moment. So I think those are some of the differences. And just, I know 30,000 seems like a lot of money, but it's to make sure that we don't end up in a bad legal situation, and to make sure that the road is easily maintained.
Right. Nikki?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have two things. Are we going to be budgeting money for further roads? Because by going, like, it's a lot of the research in here says that it's kind of goes against the official plan, and if we're going to make an exception for one road, there's going to be a lot of other cottagers or people that live on lanes or unmaintained roads that are going to come out of the woodwork and say they would like their road upgraded or maintained further. So my question is, are we prepared for that? And are we going to start budgeting for allowing other roads to be taken over as well?
You have to remember, the reason we've been asked to continue to maintain this road is because we have been maintaining it as a township road, as a forced road. Maybe in error over the years, but we have shown that we are considering this to be a township road. And whether we decide to continue, we could say, no, we're not going to do it anymore. But if it goes to a court, the judge will say, you have shown intent that this is a township road. You've maintained it for all these years. It is your road. So we can either accept it and continue with what we've been doing, or we can go to court and be told that we'll have to do it.
Okay, but can we have
a cottage road that is a private lane, hopefully, we have never worked on it for one, or never put a grader on it. So there is nothing that shows the township has been on those roads to consider them to be township roads.
But when we did so correct me if I'm wrong, I'm sorry. When Tyson came forward and said, I'm not going to maintain, with the list saying he's not going to maintain, the township is not going to maintain these roads that we shouldn't have been maintaining. This wasn't the only one. There was other roads on that list. So are those people entitled to come forward?
They possibly could be, yes.
That's my question, I guess. I'm sorry.
If the township has maintained a road and the person who owns the land on both sides of that road decided to take us to court, regardless of what the road looks like, we could be in a losing battle to have to continue some type of maintenance. Tyson? And then Bill.
Question through you, Madam Mayor, question to Cindy. Is Bill's point correct that developments have been approved on the basis that that is a publicly maintained road?
Tyson, do you mean specifically with this Bernie Point?
Correct.
I don't know if I can answer that. That might be more of a question for Andy. Historically, I do know that the whole issue was prompted by the Mackenzie's build construction and the discussions that they had with staff at that time. And that was when the commitment was made for the winter maintenance in 2016. So that's where we sort of went from the seasonal to full-time year-round maintenance without that cost benefit analysis being done. But I don't know if I can really answer that question of Bill's.
Because from my understanding was that, go ahead.
Sorry, Tyson. We were told when, I think it was the Mackenzies, made their contact with council and spoke to us at a meeting, that before they bought the property, they checked with the road superintendent, who I believe was Mike Richardson, who said, yes, it was a maintained road. And I believe if you go back in the minutes, you'll see that that information came, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago now. Bill?
Well, Madam Mayor, you took the words right out of my mouth. I'm just stuck for words now. But at any rate, I just wanted to repeat that when we met with the various landowners in there, they gave us reports, and they also provided reports to council members beforehand about the fact that they actually met with Mike Richardson. Mike Richardson assured them that this was a township road and that they could move forward. And he also assured them it was a maintained township road so that they could continue with their building project in there. So I don't know whether it's true or not, and I can't verify this, but I understand that maybe some of the building was able to take place because it was a township road and the assurance that came from our Public Works Department. So with all of that in mind, and we received those reports, and I look at this as an exception to the rule in regard to, yes, there may be other roads come forward and ask us to take them over, but in actual fact, they're making quite a commitment here because they're providing us free of charge all of the land if there's any upgrades that have to be made, and actually turning the value of that property towards this project. So I think it's an exception, but I will support it. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Brent and then Philip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I believe that it's not the exception to the rule. There will be others that come out of the woodwork, and my concern is primarily the proof. There's going to be instances where somebody says, so-and-so told me it was, so I acted upon that in good faith. Therefore, what are you going to do about it? And I think we need a policy. I think we need to be proactive in this. I think we have to understand that there are going to be people that come forward, and they are going to come forward with the same rationale, the same argument, and we need to be able to respond to those in kind. So I think we need to have a policy and a protocol for minimum standards of evidence to substantiate a claim. Offhand conversations, so-and-so in a red truck told me this is a township road. Maybe they have a piece of paper, they have email, maybe they have some documentation. I think we need to set a bar, because if we don't, and we just have it where somebody says, so-and-so told me something and there's no written proof of it, and then we're going to make changes based on that. It makes it too easy for people to do this. So, what I would like to see going forward is we have a policy saying that if you're going to come forward with this type of argument, these are the minimum standards that you need to meet to prove that this is actually the fact. I don't think that's unreasonable.
I think that's very reasonable, and I think we might want to talk to a lawyer about what those facts would be.
Absolutely.
Before, as we set the policy. I think you're right. I think it's a good idea. Philip, where are you? There, you've moved. You had your hand up next.
Yeah, so if we're moving ahead with this, the report indicates that lot 15, which from the map indicates there's a section from Highway 7 to lot 15 that's municipally owned. Then there'd be lot 15, which is in question. And then you'd move to lot 14, which is getting resolved. So even if we agree to assume what's in lot 14, there's still a large portion of the road that is not municipally owned that we're maintaining.
That's a forced road through lot 15. Yes, the Plank property, right?
I'm just confirming that we'd still have a large section of road that's in question.
Yeah, that is true.
Madam Mayor,
And
may
I
I
think
point out what we're talking about here is about 300 yards of road.
I think it's 400, isn't it?
Okay. It's not very
Yeah.
long.
Victor, you were next.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. So having a policy, I guess, would be a useful tool. As far as evidence goes, I was not there when the conversation with Mike Richardson and the residents happened. But what I can tell you is that after that conversation, whatever was said, that road was maintained. And that's all that a judge is going to look at. The judge was not listening to Mike Richardson either. So what happened in that conversation actually is irrelevant. What happened after that conversation is what's relevant. And I think we are putting ourselves at legal risk if we don't go ahead with this project.
Okay. Okay, any other comments?
Madam Mayor, may I just add a couple extra comments?
Sure, go ahead,
To
Cindy.
clarify a few things. Just one comment with Brent's suggestion about a policy. It is a great idea. I do think it's a bit problematic in that these are always looked at a very case, fact specific situation in each case. And so any policy that we develop, I think will always be subject to an interpretation by a court. My review of the case law recently is that there's it's not an easy issue to determine, and it depends on many different factors. So I think developing a policy is definitely something we would want to review with a lawyer. The main concerns that I had in terms of the uncertainty of it is because there is inconsistencies throughout the years, and there's been recent easements that have been registered by the property owners, which really sort of detracts from the idea that there was dedication. So I think there's always going to be question until we actually do get that transfer of legal title, whether it's future landowners or somebody else that we're not aware of. So there's always those concerns moving forward. So I always like to try to resolve everything as best we can. So in terms of the values and the costs it's going to take to sort of rectify this, I think it's money worth spent if this is the path that we want to go down, just to make sure that we're being really clear as to how we're treating that road. Because you're correct, we have so many other roads out there that are in a similar situation where it's just impossible to determine what the status of the road is. So, and all of those properties on the waterfront all have rights of ways and easements to get to that section of Bernie Point Road anyway. For example, the Mackenzie property has a right of way over the, I forget the name of the lane at the end of Bernie Point. They also have an easement registered to their title over that section of Bernie Point that they say is the road. So that's why there's a lot of question and a lot of uncertainty. So it's just a good way to clarify this, regardless of what the status was or is. It's just cleaning it up so that moving forward, everybody's on the same page.
Okay. And when we look at the amount of forced roads in this township, there's tons of them. There's kilometers and kilometers of forced road. Some of them were built on a road allowance, but most of them started on a road allowance and then veered off all over the place. I happen to live on one of those. Okay, let's deal with this motion then. So we've got the motion to go ahead.
Madam Mayor, Tyson
Yes.
had a comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tyson, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify the standard to which Public Works is supposed to develop what standard are we going to fix this road up to? There's that another council decision in another meeting. This estimate, to give everybody an idea, this estimate, a question that was unanswered earlier that I didn't get to was from Tom, was why do we gotta spend 30 grand just to keep plowing it? The majority of that is for the turnaround at the end, to have a safe turnaround for fire and Public Works vehicles. Just due to the geography down there, it's going to be some excavating, possibly hoe ramming, and definitely tree clearing, and lots of stone to bring in. A little bit of drainage improvements and a culvert probably, and a little bit of gravel on the whole road so we're not wrecking municipal equipment. So that's just that's an unanswered question on my end.
Okay, thanks, Tyson. That's good.
Okay. Okay, so all those in favor of the motion? Opposed? One opposed, two opposed. Motion's carried. Three opposed. Three opposed.
Three opposed.
Okay, motion's carried. All right. Moving on. Have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Sherry Wan. Whereas the township is the owner of the KMP Trail through the boundaries of Central Frontenac Township, and whereas the township is in the process of conveying its interest in the trail to the county of Frontenac, as the county is responsible for the ongoing management and maintenance of the trail, but that conveyance has not yet occurred. And whereas the county has entered into a contract renewal agreement with the Verona District ATV Club for the purpose of renewing the existing arrangement to allow the club to maintain and enhance the trail for the period December 2021 to November 30th, 2022. Now therefore be it resolved that council authorize the mayor and clerk CAO to sign the partnership and use agreement on behalf of the township as the owner. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. Okay. Motioned, moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Brent Cameron, that the minutes from the EOTA board meeting held October the 14th, 2022, and the EOTA newsletter be received for information. Any discussions or comments on that? All those in favor? Carried. Committee reports, moved by Cindy Kelsey, seconded by Philip Smith, that council received the minutes from the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority's Board of Directors meetings held February, March, April, May, June, July, September, October, and the highlights from the December 1st and 16th, 2021 meetings for information. They were missing and now we've got them all. Any comments or questions? All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Bill McDonald, that council received the minutes from the Quinte Conservation Source Protection Authority Board meeting held October the 21st, 2021, and draft minutes from Quinte Conservation Authority's board meeting held November the 18th for information. Any discussion or comments? All those in favor? Carried. And moved by Brent Cameron, seconded by Tom Dewey, that council received the approved minutes from the CPAC meeting held September the 23rd, 2021 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we now have a delegation of Richard Ben and Diana Meeks. Cindy, can you do your magic to get them into the meeting with us?
Yes, just bear with me a moment here.
We're going to be talking about the Parham Agricultural Society.
Okay, so I've got Diana in, and where did Richard go?
I'm here.
Oh, you're here, okay. Oh yeah, there you are, okay. And Diana, you're muted. I don't know if, can you unmute? Just make sure we can hear you okay?
Yes, I'm trying to get my camera.
Okay.
There we go. Okay, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm gonna let Diana speak. This is her her baby, so to speak. So she's the one that's procured the grant and done all the legwork, and she knows all about it. So go ahead, Diana.
Sure.
Okay.
And can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, and Madam Mayor, for allowing me to share this information with you. We were very excited that we were able to receive a grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation, And the amount of the grant was just under $20,000. And I just wanted to share a breakdown with you. There is certain categories that we input for various funds. And part of that, if the Parham Fair or Agricultural Society wants to reshuffle a few items, then we can do that. We just need to get permission from the Trillium Foundation. But one of the categories was salaries. So in there was allotted $2,500, and with a focus on health personnel, safety officers, just to ensure the health and safety of all participants at the fair. The second category was innovation and virtual or web virtual costs, and that was $1,200. Again, just to support the development and update various social media, virtual meetings, venues, etc. The third category was equipment, and that was $2,000 for a new computer for either the president or secretary or treasurer, or Microsoft QuickBooks, some software that might be required. The fourth category was rent or lease, and that was $6,500, and that could go towards monthly charges for cell phones, virtual platforms, leases, things of that nature that the board pays for. And then the final one is fixed operating costs, and that was $7,000, and that's for membership fees, insurance, entertainment, funds to pay judges, trophies, ribbons, things of that nature. But we're very excited to get that, and just to help out with some additional funds. I had applied for another grant, but we were not successful, and that happens sometimes, and we'll still keep our eye out for other ones for forthcoming this year. So just under a total of $20,000 overall. And Richard, did you want me to say anything about the press release, or just leave that in your hands, or?
You can mention it. We haven't done it yet, so.
Oh, okay. The one thing too, with the grant, there's certain deliverables that you have to do, certain reports, and stay with what in the guidelines are. And so one of them is that we do have to make a very a public announcement with regards to the grant, and the MPP needs to be invited to that, whether or not they come. But we do have to do a write-up of what we want to write, or when it will be disclosed or announced, and we have to give the Trillium Foundation at least 3 weeks notice, because they need to review what we were going to post, and then they're going to be contacting the MPP to get a quote as well for the article. But we can use their logos and things of that nature, and they want us to really disseminate this and share this with the public. Thank you.
So certainly by being on a council meeting, you're sharing it with the community.
Well, true, but this is not a formal, because we have to notify them 3 weeks in advance, and they have to contact the MPP. They have strict guidelines, so yeah.
Maybe you should speak to our local newspaper folks so that they can write a story that's not going to maybe get you in conflict with the Trillium folks.
Well, we can't really do that until we let the Trillium Foundation review it. They have to review it before it's publicized. They've got some strict guidelines, Madam Mayor, yes.
It's just that you are in a public forum right now, and the information you're giving us now will become is public as of now.
Okay, I was just going by the president's direction to come and share. So Richard, you got me in trouble, thanks.
Anyway, whoever does it publicly could keep it kind of low key, maybe would be great, but sure, it's out. I'm not sure council got wind of it, but I don't know where it came from, but we can talk about it. But our annual meeting is the 19th by Zoom, so after that we'll discuss what we have to do and get this rolling. So
okay, but it does affect the fair more so than any of the buildings or stuff that you're going to be doing on the property.
It's an operational grant, yes. Kathy had got a hold of me, and it's some wages could be spent to upgrade some buildings, so we'll surely get a hold of the township and have plans, maybe some lighting or something. But there's nothing being done building wise right now. So we understand we have to, the township owns the buildings and grounds. So it's just an operational grant more or less. So.
Yeah, okay, good stuff. All right, well, thank you. Any questions or comments for anyone, from anyone? Okay, all right, I have a motion before you go, and that's moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Brent Cameron, that council received the presentation from Diana Meeks and Richard Ben for information. All those in favor? Motion's carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great
Thank
evening.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
No, I didn't expect them to maybe tell all the grant stuff. I just had mentioned to be checking before, because council or the township is the owner of the property. So if they were proposing to do anything, that they need to come and get council's blessings first.
Right, okay. Next we have correspondence. And I have a motion moved by Victor Hayes and seconded by Philip Smith that council received the letter from the Town of Penetanguishene Police Services Board dated December the 7th, 2021 for information, and that council shares the concern of the Penetanguishene Police Service Board regarding the rates of recidivism and supports the idea of exploring changes to the provincial court system relating to sentencing to reduce the rates of recidivism in Ontario. And further, that the resolution be sent to the Town of Penetanguishene Police Services Board, the Attorney General, Honorable Doug Downey, the Solicitor General, Honorable Sylvia Jones, Marty Mcdonough, Detachment Commander, Frontenac OPP. Discussions? I'm guessing this came out of the CPAC committee. Victor?
There we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a couple of questions about this. When I read the report, the impression that I had is that since the onset of the pandemic, the courts have been reluctant to send convicts, people who have been convicted of crimes, into the jail system where they run perhaps a higher risk of contracting the virus. So they are releasing certain people back into the community. I'm assuming that there's not a whole lot of detail in here. I'm assuming that these are non-violent offenders, probably property crimes and things like that. And the question that I have is, they say they support the idea of exploring changes to the provincial court system. Well, what does that mean? Are they looking for alternative methods of rehabilitation, or are they saying, send those suckers to jail? That's not really clear here. So I have a real reluctance to support this without knowing more about what they are suggesting, because as much as we don't like to see people reoffending, I don't think it's fair to send people to a place where they run a higher risk of contracting the virus.
Right.
I would welcome anybody's comments on that.
Okay, Tom, and then Bill.
If I may, Victor, my understanding from the other municipalities, and especially this one from Penetanguishene, and it has nothing to do with the COVID. It actually has to do with the way the court system and the judicial system is working at the present moment. It's a catch and release thing. People are being caught by the police. They're being charged, and then they're being let go, and they're reoffending. And it's a constant it's an open door thing with the judicial. You catch them, they let them go. So this is the thing. It has nothing to do, in my opinion, with the COVID. It's strictly what's happening across North America, if you like, United States and Canada. It's just a catch and release. the judicial system needs to be tightened up.
Bill?
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. I would suggest that if we support this, we're probably going to get much more follow-up information provided to us. Victor's points are well made, but I would suggest that if you're taking somebody from out in the public and putting them into a closed environment, like say a provincial jail or whatever, the chances are that they're going to bring COVID with them and probably infect a crowd of people who have been, protected from the COVID for some time. But I would suggest that we might find that we will get a lot more information, or specifically stats that actually show what is happening, because the letter does not provide any stats, and we in regard to the number of people, there's just a blanket number in there saying, or comment, that people are reoffending because they figure the system doesn't punish them very much, and so therefore we'll take a chance and reoffend. So, but I would suggest we support it and then see what kind of reaction we get from the court system. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Can I ask, did this come from the CPAC committee, or how did it get on the agenda?
It was in one of the, I believe it was in the correspondence from one of our previous meetings.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it wasn't
Okay,
discussed at the community policing at all.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay. All those in favor of the motion? Okay. Motion's carried. Okay. Next, we have moved by Philip Smith, seconded by Tom Dewey, that the following correspondence be received for information, and it's correspondence 1 to 5. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Now we have a bylaw for the speed change. Moved by Bill Mcdonough, seconded by Nikki Gowdy, that bylaw 2022-01, being a bylaw to amend bylaw 2020-43, as amended to update speed zones within the township, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 11th day of January 2022. Any comments, questions? All those in favor?
Madam Mayor, just one question.
Oh,
just clarification.
go ahead, Kathy.
On the bylaw, and I just noticed it. Schedule A, section listing 50 zones add. Okay, I think it's just adding, you've got over the Hills Road. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that we have that correct. Adding the one in Farnham.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
all those in favor? Carried. Okay. All right, is there any notice of motions?
No.
Is there any giving of notice of motion?
No, none as well.
Is there any new or other business?
Not this evening.
Seeing none, we have a motion to go into closed session. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Sherry Wan, that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act 2001 to discuss personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, section 239(2)B. All those in favor? Carried.
Okay. See you
So
on the
we
other
go out of
side.
this and back into the closed session.